This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty here with you live on Meteo Mundo on this Saturday evening. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in. Wanted to jump on live because I wanted to cover some very intense storms that are going to be moving through portions of the Northwest Bahamas as we speak. This includes areas like Walker's Key and especially Grand Bahama. Just as I came on, the Bahamas Department of Meteorology did issue a severe thunderstorm warning for Grand Bahama. It goes until 10:55 p.m., so it does go for basically the next 2 hours here. Does it go for the next 2 hours? It does go for the next, about an hour and a half here. So again, lightning detection, radar, satellite imagery depicting a line of embedded showers and storms. And I've been watching these the last several hours here. I've been watching them come off of the Florida East Coast. They've been very intense. They have prompted special marine warnings off the United States East Coast. Now, those marine warnings will go away only because those storms are now away from the forecast waters from the National Weather Service in Miami and Bahamas. Department of Meteorology takes over from there. So boaters obviously need to be using caution. One of the reasons why I'm on, as well, is that the Bahamas have been hammered with storms, especially Grand Bahama, and there is an absolute ton of lightning out of these storms. Again, you are looking at our live lightning count, and within just this view for Walker's Key and Grand Bahama, we've had nearly 400 lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes. That's it. Look at the storm that is moving over West End and look at all of the lightning associated with that. This is what's going to be raking over the island here over the next half hour to 45 minutes. That's the composite radar. I'm going to put on the radar out of Miami. And then another thing I want to do here is, give me just 1 second here, guys. I want to actually take this down just a little bit, just so you guys can get a little bit better idea of the island. So I've faded the radar data just a little bit because when we get into the Bahamas here, I have a little bit of a masking situation where the radar will completely go over. But that allows us to see where this is. So again, you're looking at the live radar out of Miami, Florida, and you can see the storm that is lined up over West. And again, there is a severe thunderstorm warning for Grand Bahama that was issued by the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. It goes until 10:55. We'll see if the nasty storm sticks around that long. But again, obviously, this is a very potent cell. I've been tracking these storms. They've been going somewhere around 30 miles an hour. So let me do a storm track here, basically from West End over towards Freeport and Lucaya. But you can see that this cell is going to gobble up the island. It's just going to track right across Grand Bahama. So we'll start off here with it. Let's go about 35 miles an hour. And we can see a couple of those areas. I mean, obviously our big spots are going to be Freeport in about 21 minutes and the Lucaya area in about, Freeport 21, Lucaya 24 minutes. And again, there's no particular wind threat number that the Department of Meteorology from the Bahamas has issued. But what I've been seeing are some winds of at least 40 or 50 miles an hour. And some extremely, extremely concentrated lightning. I mean, look at all of that. And again, with this system that I have, and I know that you don't get to see this live tracking too often, we're going to do more of this, okay, as we get into hurricane season. And I'm tracking tropical systems in your area, but we're going to get more of this as these storms ramp up here. Hello, Maxine. Hi, Kevin. Good evening from Lakeland. Good evening, guys. Great to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing as well. If you're just joining us. Again, I'm on live Meteo Mundo because I'm covering some intense storms in the Northwest Bahamas. We'll quickly take a look as well at what's going on tropically across all of the Caribbean. But again, on live here, if you know anyone who lives in Grand Bahama, and I have many, many followers on Meteo Mundo who are from the Northwest Bahamas, let them know what's going to be happening. This is a very raucous storm that is lining up right on the far western side of Grand Bahama and will continue to basically move across the island. Walker's Key also is going to get clipped, okay? But the majority of the nasty storm near Walker's Key is south of the island, all right? So in between the waters of the north side of Grand Bahama and then into the southern side of Walker's Key. But again, just the way that the island is orientated from west to east, this cell more than likely is just going to track over the entire island. Of course, Freeport, Lucaya, High Rock area, and we'll go deeper into other areas as we get into it here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get my high resolution mapping system up and ready to go here. I mean, so again, some of the areas, and those folks who live in this area, you know what I'm talking about. Right now, it's West End, it's Hope Estate that's getting hit, Holmes Rock, Grant Town, Wild Goose Town, Bahamia West, and then eventually, of course, we just get into some of the bigger areas like Freeport and Lucaya. And again, based on a 35-mile-an-hour speed, it'll be moving into those areas here in about 19 to 21 minutes. But again, in this system, I can actually zoom in and we can look at even some other areas. It's a little bit harder here with all the overlays, but you get the idea that this is going to be moving directly across the island. So again, look at the lightning strikes, guys. We're up to basically 200 lightning strikes on the western side of Grand Bahama in just the last 15 minutes. Grand Bahama has been rocked by severe storms the last several days. Power outages have been an issue. Wildfires have been an issue as well. It's such a give it a take when these electric storms come in, because it's been dry enough in the Bahamas where some of the lightning strikes can cause there to be some wildfire issues, but obviously the rain helps to temper the wildfire threat. So you kind of want, you know, to avoid the one, but you need the other as well. You might have seen some of the video out of Nassau and some of the issues they had near the airport. There are additional storms that are still developing here off the Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood coastline. They might try and sneak towards portions of Bimini, towards Alistown. And again, these storms eventually, if they hold together, could move into portions of Abaco, north of the Marsh Harbor area. I think Marsh Harbor, generally speaking, would be okay, but obviously Little Abaco Island, Cooperstown, those areas, Blackwood Village there, the more northern sides of Abaco could be a little bit more directly impacted. Again, as I was coming on, and I had decided to jump on anyway, but just as I was, the Bahamas Department of Meteorology did issue a severe thunderstorm warning for Grand Bahama until 10:55. Again, just a tremendous storm moving across that area right now. I'll put it into motion. You can kind of see what it's been doing here over the last just 30 minutes, and then we can look at a bigger loop. But look at that huge cluster of storms. And again, earlier, you got the coastal forecast waters from the Weather Service office in Miami. You have the offshore forecast waters. When it gets this close to the Bahamas, the Weather Service office in Miami does not issue any additional marine warnings. They hand it over to the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. So with that, the Bahamas Department of Meteorology has basically encompassed all of that. They say boaters in the warning area should seek safe harbor, and residents in the warning area should stay indoors and away from windows when conditions worsen. Residents should not seek shelter under trees or in water, as these can become lightning conductors. And obviously, these are very hefty storms. Again, when we're talking about watches and warnings and advisories, I always pass on local official information, okay? So I'm never issuing my own watches or warnings, never doing anything like that, passing that on to you guys. I always state you should check in with local officials, and those in the Bahamas should continue to do that as well. But again, looking at the official statement from them, that severe thunderstorm warning, which is very well warranted, by the way, with this storm that I'm seeing right now. Let's take a look at any winds. I'm going to switch over to the velocity product here. And so when we're looking at the radar site out of Miami, all of these winds are obviously moving from west to east and away. So that's what we want to see. If we see reds and greens together, that means we are seeing winds that are rotating. We don't see that. These are all straight line winds. Now, look, these are relatively impressive numbers here. If I can get those to come back on screen real quick. These are relatively impressive numbers. I'm curious to see, I'm going to look how high in the atmosphere we're shooting, but, you know, we're seeing some 40 to 50 plus mile-an-hour winds out of this. And if you guys live in Grand Bahama, let me know. Now, again, I can live as well put on wind gusts, okay? So we have a couple of reporting stations out of Grand Bahama, one near Freeport. So you notice here we have some winds in and around Fort Lauderdale. So as of the last report out of Freeport, They're not pinging a wind gust, but I'll keep an eye on that. That will pop up if there is. So radar-wise, we're looking about 15,000 feet up. So those winds are higher in the atmosphere than on the ground. Okay, so just because I showed 50 and 60 mile an hour winds, these are winds at around 15,000 feet based on the elevation of the radar coming out of Miami. So it's not ground truth. Always want to caveat that as well. But these are going to be strong straight line winds. Whatever you get is going to be going in one direction, but certainly the opportunity for at least some 40 mile an hour winds, I would say, that could certainly, again, still cause some power outages across the island. It can knock down tree limbs. It can disrupt anything that is not tied down. Any loose object could get thrown around by 40 mile an hour winds out of that. Let's take a look at if there is any hail being shown out of this storm, and I'll get over to the chat here in just a second as well. God's point of view says, good night, Rusty. I've already shared this. Thanks for covering our island. Are there any tornado cells embedded in the storms? Thank you, God's point of view. First of all, I really appreciate you letting your friends know about this, and it's my pleasure to cover all of the Caribbean and the Bahamas. At this point in time, there is no rotation, so I think I just covered that. These all are straight winds. Now, don't get me wrong. They could still be strong, maybe even potentially isolating, damaging winds, but just how bad the weather has been and how many rounds of very intense storms places like Walker's Key and Grand Bahama and Abaco have seen. And another one is coming in. And another reason why I want to jump on is now we're past sunset, right? It's dark out there. Obviously, boy, if you live in Freeport in the Lucaya area, what a light show you're going to see out west. But look at all of this huge lightning. That's some unbelievable lightning right now. And again, places like Hope Estate and Holmes Rock, if you guys know that area in the far western side of the island. So this is showing some hail right here. Now look, this could be kind of congested with some very heavy rain. So I always take this with a grain of salt, but this is either blinding rain or moderate to almost blinding rain, and there's some hail embedded within this. So there is a little hail core right now, at least being shown on the algorithm from the radar, and that's what this is, okay? It's not like I'm painting on anything. I have access to all of the different outputs that the radar has throughout the NextRad sites in the United States, and with one query I can say, hey, listen, are you pinging any hail? And it can show me that in a visual sense. Okay, I can do a lot of different things with these radars, and happy to bring that to you. So you've got your live lightning data, by the way, right? And then you've got all of that potential hail there, but I know one thing for sure, that's some extremely heavy rain. And it is getting closer to Freeport and Lucaya. So again, in these areas, got to get ready for that severe thunderstorm to be moving through. And again, it is a severe thunderstorm warning from the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. That's a nasty cell. And now that you see how I have this little triangle icon here? Again, that's the radar letting me know that we need to watch out for that cell. Okay, so right over where I just showed you, it says there is a 90% chance for hail, and it could be a ½ inch in size. So that's still pretty small, right? That's pea to maybe dime size hail. It's coin hail at worst. Coin hail would be dimes and nickels and quarters, at least United States money. Stick with me here. I have some coffee. It's getting late, but I want to stay up with you guys and cover this for you. A little bit of coffee in the evening. I've been on a lot today through some of the other various things that I do covering weather. And again, you can see that part of the cell, right? If it moves due east, it's going to drift on the northern coast, maybe miss Freeport, Lucaya, but then come back inland and probably get close to High Rock. There's High Rock right there. So got to watch out for that part of the cell. But you can see all of the lightning. My goodness, that is just such an intense storm right now. Let's go over to our composite. I'm going to take off of the Miami radar and just show you the composite, because I want you guys to see the evolution of these storms and how it might play out in a little bit broader view. We've really been looking at Grand Bahama a lot, but I do want to show the rest of the Bahamas. And then let me put this into motion for you guys. This is going to be over the last 3 hours, and I'll get the timeline on for you as well. So if you look at the top left-hand side of your screen, you see the timeline, but just look at these storms. These storms absolutely covered up the east coast of Florida. They've held together through Walker's Key, Grand Bahama. That's as far south as they've gotten so far. Okay, that's as far south as they've gotten so far. Don't see anything else even south of Miami right now. Again, there is one more cluster of storms that did produce an isolated severe thunderstorm warning. The yellows that you see are what we call special weather statements. The reds are the severe thunderstorm warnings in Florida and the United States, and these might roll off as well. Those might try and die out before they get to even Bimini, but even if they hold together, they may try and sneak right through the gap there. But again, boaters are going to want to be in port. There's no doubt about it. And again, the amount of lightning is the most impressive part of this cell here across Grand Bahama. Elvis says, good night, Rusty. People connected here. Belize, exactly saying Ignacio, very, very dry, lots of smoke. No, it's calm, poor wind. Boy, Elvis, I hope that you get a little bit of that rain from the Pacific storm. In yesterday's video, I think I had San Ignacio was like 108 degrees Fahrenheit, which, what does that got to be, guys? In Celsius, 40 something? I can't do the math quickly in my head, but that was one of the hottest temperatures I had seen in San Ignacio ever. And, you know, I've been covering this for about a year now, but just the fact that it was so hot and it's still late in May. So I hope you catch some of that rain, and I hope that you guys don't have any fire threats there. It's really been an issue. Grand Bahama and the Northwest Bahamas are under a short-term drought watch. They've had a few storms come through, but it's not been fantastic. They've had, unfortunately, a lot of lightning. We talked about some of the injuries or some of the potential injuries lightning caused to some school children on Grand Bahama. I don't have an update on that, but our thoughts are with them. And then it's caused some power outages, and we've had some wildfires in portions of the Northwest Bahamas as well. So it's not been great. And again, the lightning can still cause some of these issues, especially with some of the drier soil that's still into place. But we also need the rain to start to kind of alleviate that situation. But again, if you're just tuning in right now, live here on Meteo Mundo on this Saturday evening, it's somewhat of a rare live event here when we're not talking about a tropical system, but I've been monitoring this situation and just wanted to come on and discuss for our friends in the Northwest Bahamas these severe storms that are coming through, especially through Grand Bahama right now. So you can see that they are tracking right into and through the west end area, and they're getting very, very close to Freeport and Lucaya. Again, I would assume that these winds are going to be at least 40 miles an hour. The Department of Meteorology, or the Bahamas Department of Meteorology, in their severe thunderstorm warning, and again, I always pass along official information, they do not give a specific wind gust threat. So I'm just looking at the radar, and from what I've seen, it looks like we're probably talking about 40 plus mile an hour winds. I might be a little bit under it, but I don't want to go too high for you guys. But I think, you know, isolated damage from winds is possible. Obviously, flooding could potentially be an issue with this as well. And then all of that lightning could cause some problems and some potential power outages as well. So this is the live look, our live radar out of Miami, Florida. And you can see now that the most intense part of this cell is on the doorstep of Freeport and Lucaya. Again, pinged even a little bit of hail there as a potential. Again, we'll see if we get any reports that there actually was near the Holmes Rock area, down towards Grant Town and Wild Goose Town, some of those areas. And then, of course, we get into Bahamia West, and then some of the very more populated areas here near Freeport and Lucaya. And obviously, if you live in this area, you know where I'm talking about here. North side of the island, here's the south side of the island, and here comes that cell, which is certainly broad enough, wide enough, it's going to rake everyone in about the same fashion. Don't really expect there to be much of a difference as far as what you're going to see from north to south. Might be a little bit more intense, just kind of scraping the north edge. Again, we talked about this part of the cell right here, that at least for a moment was showing the possibility of some hail, how it will more than likely miss Freeport, Lucaya to the north, but could get back into the way that the island is oriented as it kind of drifts a little northeast here, how it could go back over the central part of the island and eventually towards the High Rock area. Again, Walker's Key is doing pretty good. The majority of the worst weather is into the offshore waters here north of Grand Bahama, down to south of Walker's Key. So I think they're going to be all right. And again, down the road, eventually, this could be headed towards the northern sides of Abaco, something to monitor as well. Let me get back over to the chat. How's everyone doing tonight? Thank you for tuning in. I will take a second, and since a lot of you are probably watching from various areas, we'll take a quick look at the tropics as well, and show you some of the models. Again, there's obviously something I'm very interested in for portions of the Caribbean next week. If you've been watching the last couple of videos, you know what I'm talking about. We'll get into it. First of all, if for some reason you haven't hit the like button on this live stream, just like you do in my videos, thank you so much for doing that. And I really appreciate it. It means a lot. It really helps out the channel. You know what I mean? To like the videos, to like the live streams, to subscribe to the channel, and then to share it with your family and friends. If you think you're getting something out of it, the biggest thank you could give to me is to share this with your family and friends and to help us grow. And we've been doing that very, very nicely. And I think it's going to continue as we get closer to hurricane season and folks see what we offer here at Meteo Mundo. And again, we'll be doing a lot more as we have active systems throughout our area to cover for you guys. We've got some big plans as to how we're going to do that. And again, part of how we're going to do that is what you're seeing tonight. The ability to jump on, cover the storms live for you here. We've got our live lightning data. I love it. It's so beautiful. You can see in real time the lightning strikes are coming on. And I want to be clear as well. I've actually filtered out some of the lightning strikes because by energy level, believe it or not, you can filter on this system the intensity of the lightning strikes. If I were to say, give me every lightning strike that's out there right now, the icons would literally cover up all of the radar. That's probably how intense this is. But even filtered moderate to high intensity lightning strikes, within this very small geographic area, we've had over 80 lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes. The weather will go downhill in Freeport and Lucaya very, very quickly. If you live in this area, just get ready. Warren says, good night. I just turned on this live stream watching for Portmore, Jamaica. Hi, Warren. Great to hear from you. Bob is in Jamaica as well. Got a lot of friends in Jamaica. Andre is there watching from Kingston. Jeffrey Mark says it's too hot. Project Manager says Trinidad got a lot of rain. I was watching. Trust me, I've been covering some Florida weather today earlier, and was watching kind of what was developing across the Caribbean, and I saw that Trinidad had some good rain. And so I'm very happy to hear that. Look, if we can start check marking off some of you guys who have been so desperate for rain, it's going to make me extremely, extremely happy. You know, I get it. You know, we've all been through those dry stretches, and we know how important it is this time of the year to get some more rain. So I'm glad you guys are doing it. And again, we'll take a second here and look at some of the broader tropical stuff as well. So if you are viewing us from other areas besides the Bahamas, stick around. We're going to cover, I'm going to show you at least, if nothing else, some of the models that I've been looking at today. And again, how that storm system, that very wet area might develop here through the Central Caribbean and really just about 4 days from now. It's not that far off into the future, and we can discuss that a little bit more. But again, the reason why I am on is there is a severe thunderstorm warning right now for Grand Bahama. And now we're getting into the meat of it. Freeport and Lucaya are about ready to get hit with winds of at least 40 miles an hour and some potential smaller hail and a ton of lightning. And again, this is an area that has suffered some damage from storms lately. They've had a lot of lightning. They've had some power outages. They've had some wildfires, and I'm talking about the Northwest Bahamas in general, but it's been kind of a rough stretch for some of our friends there. And so having the opportunity to come on and just discuss this with you live is something that I wanted to do. And again, really intense cell right there. Let's take a look at the winds. So switch over to the velocity here. And again, as I've mentioned, if you just tuned in, we're shooting up at about 15,000 feet, okay? So we are relatively high, and you can see that the winds on the radar are 40 and 50 miles an hour around Freeport and Lucaya. But that's not ground wind. Obviously, your winds typically, as you go higher in the atmosphere, are going to be stronger. So we can kind of translate these down to the surface, and I think they're 35 to 40 in a pretty good swath. Obviously, there'll be some spots that don't get that kind of wind, and there will be some gusts that might go a little bit higher than that. But I think 35, 40, that could knock down a couple of tree limbs. Again, any loose objects could get knocked around. But you can see that the entire island right now is enveloped in some very, very strong winds. Now, they are all going in one direction. We see only pinks and reds. We don't see any darker greens. So there's no rotation. So any worried about any storms of any kind, as far as tornadic activity, don't see that. Now, look, I mean, is there always a chance to spring up a small water spout? Yes, but I don't see that as the environment this evening. And even on the north end there, again, 40, 50 mile an hour winds. The winds are a little bit lighter. I know it's a little bit more congested here, but the winds are actually a little bit lighter down here, and then they are stronger on land and then just offshore to the north. But again, we're pinging some very high winds here, relatively speaking, throughout the island. And again, we can take a look at the hail. So let's see if we get another ping of hail. Much less now. That's great news. So again, now, as I mentioned, that has gone offshore. It's going to miss Freeport, Lucaya north, and even if there is some hail, it's pea size, but more than likely not even any hail out of that. That's where the nastiest storms are right now, in between the north shore of Grand Bahama and Walker's Key. Hopefully there's no boaters out there right now. A lot of lightning, potential even to see some hail out of that. There's a lot of instability in the atmosphere. And I know that, you know, we're getting into some warm areas here when we're talking about hail, but there's a lot of colder air aloft, okay? And there's a lot of energy, and it takes those storms and lifts them very high up in the atmosphere and gets them above the freezing level. Even as far south and east here as the Bahamas, they can get into some small hail situations. So that's always something to watch out for. Freeport, Lucaya getting hammered right now. Elvis says, thank you, Rusty. Great job. Enjoy your coffee. Praying for some rain in Belize. My family enjoy your program. Thank you so much, Elvis. I appreciate all the very nice and kind words. Thank you for that sentiment. Yes, my thoughts are with anyone right now who is desperate for some rain. I hope you get that. Or if anything else, you get just a little bit of relief from the heat. I know that that's been a big issue as well. So again, live at Meteo Mundo on this late Saturday evening, and I am going to have another sip of my coffee. I hope you don't mind. Before it gets too cold, because I don't have it in a thermos. This is just a regular mug. I made it real quick. A little energy boost. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have had a good Saturday. We had some really nasty storms in Central Florida, kind of stopped the outdoor activities a little bit earlier today. And these are the storms that move through Central Florida, and they're now into the Northwest Bahamas. I've been watching these things since about 2 p.m. And you can see even to the north there, a cluster of good storms. A lot of lightning. These storms, when they went off the shore, their lightning counts just doubled and tripled in a heartbeat. Again, if you live in Freeport, Lucaya, it's moving right over your area right now. I'm going to put this into motion over the last half hour. It does look like the lightning count has come down a little bit. That's good news. It almost looks like near that Holmes, is it Holmes Beach or Holmes Rock? I apologize. Holmes Rock. So again, just basically right up there near West End, that it almost blew its top, right? Some of these storms can get so intense, they can't hold that intensity, and then they just fire off whatever they have left, whatever hail, and they die back down. So it's good to see, very clear. This is the same view, and our lightning count has gone down from 200 something to around 35. So the intensity of the storm is actually beginning to weaken. That is great news to see, because maybe now we spare the central and the eastern sides of the island with any opportunity for any severe weather. But it is still intense enough right now to be causing some problems over Freeport and Lucaya, and obviously that is some of the major population areas here throughout the entire island. So if you know anyone who lives in this area, or you're tuning in live, thank you so much for doing so. We got you covered here at Meteo Mundo live on this Saturday evening. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued by the Bahamas Department of Meteorology for Grand Bahama, and it includes all the modes of severe weather minus any real tornadic potential. These are going to be straight line winds. And again, I'm estimating, because the department did not put a specific number on their warning, but it appears by radar estimates these are going to be at least 35, 40-mile-an-hour winds, some very, very heavy rain and a lot of lightning. And again, still some power issues are possible with these kinds of storms and with it being nighttime as well. Again, wanted to pop on because didn't want you guys to get caught off guard. Obviously, if you live in the High Rock area and you look off towards the west, it's an absolute light show with that storm moving through. A couple more storms are trying to back build south and west. We see another cluster coming offshore there from the Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale area. That's our sea breeze here in Florida. We get the winds coming onshore with the heat of the day. It helps to initiate these summer-like storms. And even though it's on May, we are in a summer-like pattern here in Central Florida and South Florida through the Bahamas. Part of that is being aided by that upper level energy I was telling you about. But again, we're kind of falling into our summer pattern here in late May, and we typically see it this time of the year. So depending on the trajectory of these storms, every so often the Northwest Bahamas can get hit by some of the activity that has developed in Florida earlier in the day. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. But again, it's good to see that the lightning count is coming down a little bit. Let's do this real quick. I'm going to go over to our enhanced satellite imagery. Let's bring that on. I'm going to take off the radar data real fast. Just to give another perspective here, I want to take a look at that. So this is our enhanced satellite imagery. You guys see it all the time here at Meteo Mundo. It's just another way for me to look at what's going on in the atmosphere. And again, this is just a huge complex of storms. And obviously, there are some cores to talk about, but you can see how massive this is. And look at all of those lightning strikes. Again, even with filtered lightning strike information, meaning that I'm not showing every single lightning strike, we had nearly 1,000 lightning strikes here just about 15 minutes ago in this particular region. And again, back down to almost less than 400 right now. So it's good to see that the intensity is coming down a bit. But again, we have to just kind of watch this storm as it moves across the Grand Bahama area. Elsewhere, again, we could see a kind of a brushing of a little bit of some rain for Andros and Nassau and Eleuthera. Okay? But again, I think the majority of this activity stays north. The northern side of Abaco could get hit by some of that, but there's a weakening trend ongoing right now as well. And since I've got my friends across the entire Caribbean and I want to make sure I cover all of you guys, what do you say? We look live on this Saturday evening. How about that? Let's go live. One of our subscribers said they got some rain in Trinidad and Tobago. Love it. Look at all that moisture coming in. Finally got the winds to shift in the proper direction and to bring that. And maybe even a little, maybe one or two lightning strikes as well. Not much, but I hope that that was beneficial rain. I hope it wasn't just light. I hope you got some good beneficial rain out of that. Grenada might have got slipped in. Barbados might have caught a shower or two as well. St. Vincent and the Grenadines and St. Lucia. And again, this is, let's see here. Let me see. Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure I had it all for 6 hours to make sure I can loop this over 6 hours. Looked a little bit quieter here. I did see this earlier today. I had to chuckle a little bit. What can Puerto Rico do to get a dry day? It's just unbelievable how much rain Puerto Rico had. And if you saw yesterday's video, I mentioned that interior locations, that rain chance was like 60, 70%. Coastal areas was more like 30, 40. And that's exactly how it played out again. They had those storms right over interior sections again, and they tried to drift off towards Vieques and Culebra. Just unbelievable that they just continue to be wet. And again, we've had a few isolated tidbits here and there in the Dominican Republic, but it's been much more isolated. My friends in Jamaica, again, we talked about the drier forecast. You can see we had a couple of little lightning strikes here and there, but nothing that added up to much. If you actually caught a shower today in Jamaica, let me know. But again, last time I looked, you didn't. Hi, Ricardo. How are you? Good night from Jamaica, my friend. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, live here, there is a nasty storm over Grand Bahama, and we're covering that live. I wanted to jump real quickly and just kind of talk about what else everyone saw today. And again, look at these storms here. I hope San Ignacio gets close to that, man. Let's take a look at San Ignacio's temperature real quick. 108 again today. Oh, looks like they might have caught a little shower there. Whew, 108. Can you imagine the heat content of those storms at 108? But I mentioned this in yesterday's video as well. See, I feel pretty good about things, how these storms would be more intense and more widespread in this area because of what's happening here in the Eastern Pacific. By the way, this system is not going to develop now, but it is throwing a lot more tropical moisture over Mexico, portions of the Yucatan in general. Just a huge blowup of storms there. And that did impact places like Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, portions of Honduras, Nicaragua. But again, back over to what's happening right now in Grand Bahama, because I don't want to leave this too long here. Again, you can see the temperature in Freeport get down to 84. Here come the storms rolling through. And again, if let's just do the last hour here. Take a look at the lightning that was out of this cell. West End, I tell you, got nailed. Look at all of that lightning. And then it just begins to lose a bit of its punch as it gets towards Freeport and Lucaya. And we see our temperature go down to 84. But again, it's a nasty cell. And look at that lightning move through. But again, we're losing some of the intensity, and that's great news. So I think we're looking pretty good overall. Let's get back off of the satellite imagery here, and I'll put back on the radar. So again, you know, this is almost a little bit of a preview of when we have a tropical storm, a hurricane, and we need to do some live tracking here. We can do that. Will certainly be the plan. When it's necessary, we'll have our 24/7 channel streaming live, so you can follow along when I'm not on. But obviously, the amount of coverage we're going to do when we have active tropical systems is going to be a lot. And we appreciate you tuning in. And I hope you're getting something out of this. I hope you're seeing something that have never seen anywhere else. That's kind of what we want to do here at Meteo Mundo. That's kind of my drive. And if you do enjoy it, again, if you want to do me a big favor, just click the like button on this live stream. If for some reason you're watching, you're not a subscriber yet, make sure you subscribe if you want the latest forecasts across the Caribbean, the Bahamas, and some of this live forecasting as well. And if you'd like to support the channel in other ways, you can find that in the description below. And I thank all of those who have supported Meteo Mundo in that manner. It certainly means a lot. Again, live on this Saturday evening as we continue to track a severe storm over Grand Bahama. Now, I will say we have lost a lot of the intensity out of that cell as it's moved over Freeport and Lucaya. That being said, still could see some extremely heavy rain, still could see lightning that could cause problems. And again, this area has been plagued with issues that go anywhere from lightning causing some power outages to the dry weather and the drought and the potential for wildfires. And we've seen some of that across the Northwest Bahamas. So again, the heavy rain comes with a give and a take when you're talking about lightning, because you don't want the lightning to cause any additional fire issues, but you want that rain to continue to wet the soil, to get things wetter overall, so it's just not a tinderbox out there, you know, either with natural reasons why we get wildfires or man-made reasons why we get wildfires or lightning issues that can cause wildfires as well. We need to get this area some more rain. They are under a short-term drought watch, but hopefully some of the rain here, despite the fact that it's come with some problems this week, will continue to help out this area and get them the rain that they desperately need. So again, you can see that really nasty storm on the northern side. The cell continues to track off. Let's do a track on that, by the way. So we're going to track this from the leading edge, and we'll move it to the east at around 35. So just wanted to time out when it's going to get to high rock, be about 40 minutes from now. If this continues in the same fashion that it is right now, I don't think it's going to be severe enough or intense enough to cause any issues. I'm going to check here from the Bahamas Department of Meteorology to see if they put any updates in. Every government is different as to how they update any watches or warnings. Some of them will issue a watch or a warning, and that's it. There's going to be no updates until that time expires. Others will provide updates as well. I don't see anything right now. And again, technically, this severe thunderstorm warning goes until 10:55. And again, some of the showers will produce locally heavy thunderstorms. They'll be strong, causing gusty winds, dangerous lightning, heavy downpours, possible hail. It does say waterspout or tornadic activity, and I'm again reading the official report. I have not seen any rotation. That's good news. And again, localized flooding is possible with these storms. Obviously, boaters in this warning area should be seeking safe harbor. I hope you guys are in port right now. Residents should also be indoors and just away from windows. I don't see any hail right now, but again, don't want to play with that. You want to stay away from your windows. And again, you can see this storm is going to track right through the island. So right over Freeport and Lucaya right now, headed towards High Rock in about 38 minutes. How's everyone doing tonight? Let me know in your comments section. I've got a little bit of coffee. So let me get rid of this cell of this track. I feel better about what's happening right now in Freeport and Lucaya. The intensity of this storm has definitely come down. So I was very, very concerned when I saw 500-600 lightning strikes just offshore. And then when the Department of Meteorology there in the Bahamas issued the severe thunderstorm warning, just had an opportunity to jump on to cover it for you guys, and that's what I wanted to do. Again, down the road, maybe the northern sides of Abaco, and then I believe this cluster is actually going to die out before it gets to Bimini, okay? So what I'll do is we'll kind of wrap up the Bahamas coverage here in just a second. And then I'm going to show you some of the tropical things that we were talking about yesterday, since I'm live, and heck, might as well do it, right? Let's see here. So for the Bahamas, it's going to give me 1 second here. Again, I'm doing this on the fly. Do it on the fly. I don't have it all set up. That's just fine. Yeah, that'll still work. Where am I here? There we go. That works better. Actually, let's do this. Sorry. I'm flipping through a couple of things. So here I have access to a very high resolution model that updates every hour, literally every hour. So typically, when we're talking about short-term forecasts like this, and we're not talking about long range, this is the one that I like to use. So let's break this down. Okay, model timeline, boom, okay. I think I've got everything set up now that we can look at this model. So the first thing I do is this model handling the situation that's outside right now fairly well? Looks like it, right? If I go to the 10 o'clock one, that's a pretty decent depiction of what's happening right now, right? Maybe too far north. Walker's Key isn't getting hit very hard, but Grand Bahama, and there are the storms to the north of Bimini. So the model has initialized well, which means that we can start to trust and rely on this one a little bit more as we go through the rest of the forecast here. And then we're only going to go all the way until tomorrow morning. So for our friends in the Northwest Bahamas, let me back that up just real quick. You notice that now these storms kind of evaporate as they move over Abaco. All right, that's good news. And then a few storms linger just off the West Palm Beach coastline, but that's about as close as they get. So between now and tomorrow morning, this is about the only game in town. Once that storm dies out as it moves over Grand Bahama, that should do it. I don't think Nassau, I don't think Andros, I don't think Eleuthera gets into the act tonight. And really most of Walker's Key and Abaco won't either, as that begins to fizzle out. Okay, now let's get into this real quick. Let us take a look at what the newest information is on that huge moisture plume that I've been watching. Gonna take just a second for me to set it up. Again, if you guys wouldn't mind clicking the like button while I'm doing that, I can't thank you enough. And I am going to show you the GFS model because it is the global long-range model I can show you here on this system. Now look, I can show you the European model. I just have to do it in a little bit different way, and I have done that in the past as well. I want to get this out of camera, sorry guys. But I am not in love with any model, meaning that I'm always going to look at all the information, and whatever one I feel is holding on to the best solution is the one we'll talk about the most. But, you know, this is the GFS that I can show you, and it takes us out up to 17 days on this system if I wanted to. Some of you, there's been some discussion about the models and which ones are more accurate. Certainly, I think there's a bias that the European model is just superior to the GFS regardless. But a couple of years ago, the GFS did undergo a very intense, if you will, upgrade to its computer software and its computing ability and its resolution and all of that. I mean, they cranked in a lot of money to upgrade the computing power of the GFS model. And since then, it has done much, much better. Just forecasting hurricanes in Florida, when you're talking about Hurricane Matthew, and like even, last year, Hurricanes Ian and Nicole, the GFS model did very good for the most part. So I don't think we should just discount it just because of its history, if you will, its past, that, for a time it was much less and the European was far superior, but I think that gap has closed pretty significantly here. So again, let's get into it. I'm hoping that this thing loops up a little bit faster. It's being really slow right now, but I don't think there's anything I can do about that. I think it's just got to take its time. For some reason, though, it's not showing anything past the 21st. See how it goes away? So I'm going to do something real quick. I've been using this system for many, many hours today. I'm just going to reset it real fast. It'll take literally 15 seconds. But I think what's happening is there's a hiccup right now where it doesn't want to get past a few days, regardless of what I'm telling it to do. So, just like any other computer, a simple reboot sometimes is your best option. All right, let's see what we can do here now. Everyone have a good day, by the way. Hope you guys had a good Saturday. We had some storms, cut out anything doing outdoors for a while, unfortunately. But other than that, things were good. It is not wanting to go beyond that right now. We could be in between model runs. It's a possibility that we're in between model runs. Let me see here. Otherwise, it's just a tease for you guys to have to watch the video that I'm going to make for us all tomorrow, right? Maybe that's what I'm trying to do anyway. Well, the name's not even showing up either. All right, give me 1 second here. Okay, why am I in vector there? I'm trying to answer some questions of my own right now. Will it show a single? Are we in the middle of some model runs here? Can I? The her ran just fine, right? Yeah, we just saw that. So it's not like I don't have any model data. And we have the GFS from early today. Just not getting it to fully load right now. It's trying, but it seems to stop right around the 24th. Sorry, guys. Wanted to show you. I'm going to see if it's all variables or if it's just reflectivity. Let's see. Let's go to wind gusts. Yeah, it's just not wanting to paint on right now. Something I have to look at, but I rarely run the models this time of night. So, could be something with the data ingestion, could be something to the fact that we're in between model runs. Because typically, even if it was bad, I could just single frame it and this would pop up. But I don't have an answer right now for you guys as to why it's not. I'll try a couple more things behind the scenes. But what's interesting is even the NAM shows very little interest in wanting to, yeah, I think it's a data issue. You guys see that? That should not be just one solid color. All right. Well, stink. You'll have to stick around till tomorrow. Yeah, I just can't get it to run. Oh well, that's a bummer. I'll look into it tomorrow. I'll look into it, and obviously I'll have it resolved before we go back on with Sunday's video. But I wanted to show it to you guys live, but you can see that the timeline is scrolling and nothing is painting on past about the 21st, which is disappointing, but there's nothing I can do about it, I believe. Again, I'm just fiddling around with some of the other models here to see if I can't get them to come on. Yeah, I think we got a bit of a data issue. All right, well, what are you going to do? Let's go back over here real fast. And as we wrap up, again, I do want to cover this storm just one more time, because we can see that we've lost a lot of that intensity. That's great news for our friends in Grand Bahama. So this is what it looks like over the last hour. You can see it moving through on the lightning data. And again, look, pretty rowdy storm over Freeport, Lucaya, but it weakened just in time. So at the core of that storm never really got over those cities. And then High Rock, again, heavy rain across the island. There still could be some minor localized flooding, don't get me wrong, but I mean, when we were going back a couple of hours and there were 500-600 lightning strikes just offshore, it raised my eyebrows. Take a look at these. Take a look at it here if you just tuned in of why I'm on. That storm moving through West End was going to be extremely, extremely raucous. At least we've lost some of that intensity, and I hope it hasn't caused any additional problems, any additional power outages. Hopefully, because it's night, no additional wildfires, anything like that. We just don't want to see that for our friends there in Grand Bahama. And there's Marsh Harbor and Andros as well. Darn it! I wanted to be able to show you guys that model. I'm very disappointed. Here's wind gusts. You know me, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying. Let's see here. Stick with me. Here's wind gusts. But again, it might just loop until a few days from now and then go away. We'll see. We'll give it a shot. I'm curious if I can get any more data past about the 21st. It might be trying. All right, we might see winds if nothing else, right? And again, part of why and part of what we want to do here is, regardless of whether you believe the GFS or the European, you want to see some consistency with these models, right? You don't want these models to have one solution and then the very next time you look at them, it's something completely different. And again, we're not looking 7-10 days in the future, where sometimes a GFS model can perform extremely, extremely poorly. This is much closer in time. We're talking about, as we get into, today is the 18th, right? And I'm not mistaken about that, right? So tomorrow the 19th, so Monday's the 20th. So you can see as we get towards Tuesday the 21st, there still is that broad kink moving through Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, and then potentially trying to wrap up into a very weak, potentially surface low near Bermuda. Again, some of the perturbations of the GFS model have about 1,005 millibar low up there near Bermuda about a week from now. But again, what's this going to do? Moisture surge is on the way. And the European model is farther west, trying to bring more rain over Jamaica and keep places like the Leeward Islands a little bit drier. But Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, I think regardless, are into the zone of potential heaviest rain. I'm going to see if reflectivity is going to actually work now, since we got the wind gusts to work. Okay, here we go. Don't ask me what I did, because I have no idea. I don't think I did anything, honestly. I think I just kept hitting buttons, kept doing the same thing over and over again. Isn't that what Einstein said was insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. I'll take it though. So on this Saturday night, again, if you're tuning in live, I appreciate it. We were covering a severe thunderstorm over Grand Bahama in the northwest Bahamas, but that cell has dissipated and is no longer more than likely causing any threats. So again, we look at this moisture coming in, And again, today is the 18th, Saturday, so 19th is Sunday, 20th is Monday. So early Tuesday morning, we start to see that moisture surge. And again, on our GFS model, it is slightly farther west now. It does bring in a little bit more of Jamaica into play, but certainly still bullseyes, Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, portions of the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands, the Turks and Caicos, and a little bit of the Leeward Islands as well. We don't see any big twist out of that. The Hurricane Center, as of last I checked, had not mentioned anything. So we're talking about a lot of rain. And I've mentioned it, on the heels of this, this might be a pattern change where we could run this back again sometime the week after. It's not out of the question. Some of the longer range models just kind of keep that surge of moisture moving into the north central Caribbean. So there you go. Again, a lot of rain. I don't want to show the total precip yet because I don't want to start pinpointing specific numbers because we are still a few days away. But needless to say that the numbers as far as the rainfall totals for, and we'll even include Jamaica right now. Again, there's no absolutes, but for Kingston, and especially places like Lacaille, and Port-au-Prince, and Santiago de los Caballeros, and Santo Domingo, and San Juan, and the Turks and the Caicos, and St. Croix, and St. John, and St. Thomas, and Tortola, and Guila, all areas of the northern Leeward Islands could be significant. Could be. So we'll see how this plays out. But again, we can see now for the last several days, we have this very consistent moisture plume on the models coming in. Since everything is working now, and I feel much better about myself, we say we take a look at absolute vorticity as well. Again, I hope you're getting something out of this. I hope you're seeing some things that you've never seen before, or if you have an interest in weather, you know, you're learning a little bit of something here. And it all helps me when we go through kind of this learning process, because the next time I mention it, you're gonna be like, oh, Rusty mentioned that before. I know what he's talking about. I get it. So what you're looking at on this product is absolute vorticity. This is basically spin in the atmosphere, okay? And this is a little bit better product when we're looking for nuances, okay? When I showed you that wind gust, that's just gonna be surface winds, right? And then how fast are they blowing? And obviously, if we have a wrapped up center of circulation, we can see that on that product. Here, we're just looking at broad spin at the atmosphere, a little bit up in the atmosphere, okay? Not too high up, but not at the surface either. And you can see that there is a bit more twist as you get a little bit higher up in the atmosphere. Again, that's not going to necessarily produce a tropical system, but it does show you that there is some spin or vorticity associated with it. What's interesting is it's a little bit tighter here, and that kind of just stays there and throws that chunk of energy right over Hispaniola. And then that takes over and potentially tries to wrap up a little bit more near Bermuda. Okay? Again, this is not at the surface. This is a bit up in the atmosphere, but we can see the broad circulation that comes with this first surge of moisture. We're reminded it's late May, at the very, very beginnings of this hurricane season. Technically, again, it doesn't start till June 1st, although the Hurricane Center began issuing their daily tropical weather outlooks on May 15th to account for the fact that most years we have some kind of storm in May to keep an eye on. And maybe this is the first one. But at least at this point in time, it doesn't try and do anything too crazy as it moves through our area. Our friends in Bermuda might have to deal with a storm that's a hybrid system. You know, you get these storms this time of the year that become subtropical because there's still colder waters and a lot of strong winds streaking off the east coast of the United States. So that could be a big wind maker for them if it holds together. And again, still just one model. We'll keep a look at it. The last time I looked at the European, they did not have a closed low near Bermuda. The GFS did, but the European didn't. And there's all different kinds. There's the mean ensemble run, and then there's different perturbations of each model, 50 different members of each model. You know, you could slice and dice it and find something you want out of it, but the general sense is that the GFS is a little bit more aggressive with the spin up north of the Turks and Caicos, east of the Bahamas. But there you go, guys. That's what I'm going to be watching for you as we go through the remainder of the week. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. As we leave, do me a couple of favors. Thumbs up on this live stream. I appreciate you joining me on this Saturday night. I'm live with you on this Saturday night. If you want to thank me, click that like button right now. If you're not a subscriber and you've been looking for something like this, your latest forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, and some live content when it's necessary, including some strong to severe storms, and obviously as we get into hurricane season, tracking some of the tropical activity live for you, make sure you become a subscriber. Again, you'll get daily forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas as well. Please share this channel with your family and friends. Help get our subscriber count up. We've been doing very well lately, and I want to welcome all of our new subscribers and thank you for all the very kind comments that you've said as well. And if you have a specific question about the forecast, as always in any of these videos, maybe not so much this live stream, because I may not go back and be able to watch or see this as much, but in any of the videos that I do, just drop it in the comment section below. Those who have been subscribers here at Meteo Mundo know that I love to interact with you guys. So if you have a specific question about the forecast, you can ask it. Or if you want to let me know what's been going on in your area, I love to hear that information as well. If you'd like to support the channel, you can find some ways to do that in the description area below. And I thank those who have done that in that way, helping us here at Meteo Mundo. It really means a lot. Thank you so much, friends. Have a great rest of your late Saturday evening. I will see you tomorrow with an update video across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. We'll talk a lot more about that moisture surge and how that might play out and start kind of breaking down the different models and what this all means for our forecast as we move into next week. See you soon, friends. Have a great one.